Halloween, a night of masks, mischief, and memories carved into the darkness. For some, it's just candy and costumes. For others, it's the night everything changed. These stories are not the ones you tell around a campfire for fun. These are stories from real people who remember Halloween not as a celebration, but as a nightmare they'll never forget. These are 3 disturbing true Halloween night horror stories that might make you rethink ever opening your door again. Story by Nathan. It was Halloween night, 2017. I was 17 years old, home alone for the first time on Halloween. My parents had gone to a costume party out of town and trusted me to stay home and pass out candy to the trick-or-treaters. The first part of the evening was completely normal. Kids came in waves, parents waved from sidewalks, and spooky music echoed from nearby houses. Around 10 p.m., the crowd started thinning out. I was about to turn off the porch light when one last knock came. I opened the door and saw a tall man in a cheap clown mask standing alone. No kids, no parents, just him. I asked him how old he was, jokingly, expecting some awkward teen behind the mask, but he didn't respond. He just tilted his head and held out a pillowcase. I dropped a few mini Snickers into it. That S, when he slowly turned his head toward the inside of my house, not me, but past me, like he was sizing it up. His body language changed, like he was thinking of walking in. I instinctively stepped forward to block his view and said, "Have a good night." He stood there, silent, just breathing heavily through the mask holes. Then he raised a gloved hand and gave me a thumbs up. I shut the door immediately and locked everything. About 10 minutes later, I was in the kitchen getting water when I heard a soft thud at the back sliding door. My stomach dropped. I turned off the kitchen lights and crept toward the door. On the other side of the glass was the same man. No pillowcase now, just standing there, hands at his sides, staring directly at me through the glass. I didn't move. I didn't blink. I don't know how long we stared at each other, but eventually I saw headlights in the driveway, my neighbor pulling in. The man took off running through my backyard. I called the police, but they never found him. To this day, I have no idea what his real intentions were, but I never spend Halloween alone anymore. Story by Lisa T. This happened on Halloween night 2004. I was a police dispatcher at the time, working the late shift in a small town. It was usually a quiet job, but Halloween was different. You'd get prank calls, noise complaints, and teenagers trying to be funny. But that year, there was one call I'll never forget. Around 11:45 p.m., we got a call from a woman screaming. Not like startled screaming. This was pure terror. It was hard to make out what she was saying, but the words costume, house, and he's not human stood out. Then the line went dead. We traced the call and dispatched officers to the location, a rural property on the outskirts of town. They arrived 10 minutes later and found the house completely empty. No signs of struggle, no woman, no blood, nothing, except for one thing. A Halloween mask, some kind of leather creature face, lying in the middle of the living room floor, and beside it, a phone, still blinking from the 911 call. The weirdest part? That house had been foreclosed and abandoned for over 6 months. We double-checked the ownership records, and the last resident was a woman named Susan, who had disappeared years ago. But the voice on the call didn't match her. We had recordings from a previous case. We never got another call from that number. It was deactivated by the time we traced it again the next day. And no missing persons were ever linked to the location. Every Halloween since, I think about that voice, that panic, and the fact that someone, or something, lured her into that house and vanished without a trace. Story by Ben W. Halloween 2022. I had just moved into my new apartment in Chicago. A big change from the quiet town I grew up in. I didn't know my neighbors, didn't decorate, didn't even plan to celebrate. But that night, I got home from work around 9 p.m. and found a single black envelope taped to my apartment door. There was no name, just the words, "For you," written in neat red ink. I opened it. Inside was a folded paper that simply read, "Don't answer the door tonight, no matter what." I thought it was a prank, maybe a neighbor trying to be creepy. But something about the handwriting made me feel uneasy. I left the note on the counter and went about my night. At 10:43 p.m., someone knocked. Not a loud knock, just 3 slow, deliberate knocks. I froze. I remembered the note. I didn't answer. Then they knocked again, 3 more times. Then silence. For 5 whole minutes. Then my phone rang. No caller ID. I answered, heart pounding. A distorted voice whispered, "Smart choice." Then the line went dead. I immediately called building security, but they said no one had entered the complex in the past hour, and no one was outside my door when they checked the hallway cameras. I never found out who left the note. I even asked my neighbors weeks later. None of them admitted anything, and most looked genuinely confused. Every Halloween since, I get the same envelope on my door. "Don't answer the door tonight, no matter what." I never do. Halloween is supposed to be a night of fun, of fantasy. But sometimes the masks people wear hide something much darker. These stories weren't ititai from ghost hunters or horror writers. They were from ordinary people who just happened to open the wrong door, on the wrong night. Stay safe out there. And this Halloween, maybe don't answer the knock.